He was a ruthless mafia boss ready to disappear forever. But the night he tried to escape his past, he found the one person who hated him most, a wounded female cop bleeding on the roadside. Saving her would mean risking his life and everything he built. What happened next shocked the entire city. Watch till the end, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. The city was drowning in rain. A silver curtain of water blurred the skyline, washing the sins off cracked pavement and flickering neon. Somewhere beyond the downpour, thunder rolled like an old god waking up angry. Adrian Romano leaned against the window of his black car, watching the city lights smear and melt into one another. He'd driven this route 1,000 times. Same roads, same turns, same exits leading back to the same hell. But tonight felt different. Maybe it was the silence. Maybe it was the weight in his chest that no bullet could touch. He told his men he was leaving. No more deals, no more blood. They didn't believe him. Nobody ever walked away from the Romano family, not alive. The wipers squeaked back and forth as he drove through the slums, past shuttered stores and stray dogs fighting over scraps. He could smell the storm through the cracked window, the metallic scent of wet asphalt, diesel, and regret. His coat was draped on the passenger seat beside a half-empty glass bottle. The gun, as always, lay beneath it. Habit, not comfort. He wasn't running from enemies tonight. He was running from ghosts. Adrian had been many things: killer, negotiator, savior, sinner. But above all, he'd been loyal. That was what broke him in the end. Loyalty had cost him his brother. He still saw Marco's face every night. The blood, the betrayal, the sound of sirens blending with his last breath. The police had called it justice. The papers called it closure. But Adrian knew better. Someone inside had played them both, the cops and the Romano family. And somehow they'd made him the monster in every story. He'd made peace with it, or so he thought. The clock on the dashboard blinked 2:47 a.m. when he saw her. At first, it looked like another pile of trash dumped by the roadside. Then a glint of metal caught his eye. A badge. The headlights cut through the rain and landed on her body, sprawled near a broken guardrail. Blood mingled with rainwater streaming toward the gutter. He slowed the car. His heart didn't race. It stopped. She was alive. Barely. He stepped out, rain slicing across his face like tiny blades. His shoes sank into the mud as he crouched beside her. A young woman, maybe late 20s, hair soaked and matted to her cheek, uniform torn at the shoulder. The badge was still pinned. Detective Elena Cruz. He'd seen her photo before. The relentless cop who had been tracking him for months. She'd built a reputation on hunting the untouchable, and now here she was, broken, bleeding, and unconscious in the gutter. Adrian's first instinct was to walk away. Fate was handing him an easy out, the kind of poetic irony he used to believe in. But as lightning flashed across the empty street, he saw something in her hand, a crumpled piece of paper soaked but still clutching her fingerprints. On it, faintly visible, was a name he recognized, his, but beneath it, another V. Salazar. He froze. That name hadn't been spoken aloud in years. Salazar was supposed to be dead. The man who once supplied half the city's guns, who vanished after Marco's murder. If Salazar was alive, it meant one thing. Adrian had been right all along. Someone had set him up, someone powerful enough to use cops and killers like chess pieces. He looked back at Elena. Her breathing was shallow, each gasp bubbling faintly through the rain. He muttered something under his breath in Italian. A curse, maybe a prayer, and slid his arms under her. She was lighter than he expected, warm, fragile, real. The kind of human weight that reminded you of what you once were. The car door slammed behind him as he laid her across the back seat. Blood smeared on the leather. For a moment he hesitated, staring at her pale face reflected in the rearview mirror. "This is madness," he whispered. The city didn't argue. He drove without thinking. The roads twisting through the industrial district, past the pier where Marco died. Every turn brought back another ghost. The rain never stopped. Neither did the guilt. By the time he reached the outskirts, the sky was starting to fade from black to bruised gray. Dawn creeping through the storm, he pulled up outside a building that hadn't seen life in decades. A small stone church, half collapsed, swallowed by ivy and silence. He'd come here once as a boy, back when his mother still believed prayers could change a man. He carried Elena inside, kicking the rusted door open with his boot. The smell of mold and candle wax filled the air. The pews were cracked, the stained glass windows shattered long ago. Rain dripped through holes in the ceiling, each drop echoing like a heartbeat. He laid her on the altar, because there was nowhere else. The irony wasn't lost on him. He searched her pockets, badge, service pistol, and a blood-stained phone. The screen flickered once before dying. He pulled off his coat, tore part of it, and pressed it against the wound in her side. She groaned faintly, eyes fluttering but not waking. "Easy," he murmured, voice low, almost gentle. "You'll make it." He didn't know why he said it. Maybe to convince himself. He found a first aid kit in the glove compartment of his car and returned, patching her wound as best he could. His hands shook, not from fear but from memory. He'd seen too many people die. Too many times he'd been the reason. When he finally sat down on the edge of a broken pew, exhaustion hit him like a wall. He lit a cigarette, the smoke curling in thin threads toward the ceiling. Her breathing steadied. The rain softened. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel hostile. It felt waiting. Adrian watched her sleep. The cop who wanted him behind bars. The cop whose blood was now on his hands. In more ways than one, and somewhere under the sound of rain, he heard a faint whisper. The city breathing, the ghosts listening, the storm promising that this night was far from over. He didn't notice the black SUV that passed on the distant road, its headlights flickering for a moment as it slowed near the church before driving on. Inside, a man with a scar under his eye made a call and said quietly, he found her. Morning crept in through shattered glass, turning the ruined church into a mosaic of light and shadow. Dust drifted in the air like quiet snow. Adrian sat slouched on a pew, cigarette gone cold between his fingers, listening to the faint rhythm of rain dripping from the roof. A sound broke the stillness, a low groan, soft but sharp enough to pull him upright. Elena stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, pupils adjusting to the gray light. For a few seconds she didn't move, disoriented. Then the pain hit. Her hand shot to her side, finding the rough bandage pressed beneath her torn shirt. "Don't," Adrian said from the shadows. His voice was low, sandpaper rough. "You'll tear it open again." She froze. The silhouette near the aisle shifted into view. A tall man in a black shirt, collar open, stubble shadowing his jaw. Recognition flared instantly. Her heart stuttered. "Romano," she rasped. He didn't answer. Her eyes darted toward her holster. Empty. She spotted her gun on a nearby bench, just out of reach. Adrian followed her gaze, exhaled smoke that wasn't there, and nudged the pistol closer with his boot. "If you think you can shoot straight in your condition, go ahead," he said. Elena's fingers trembled as she grabbed the weapon, aiming it with both hands despite the pain. "Why am I here?" "Because you were bleeding out on Route 19. You did this?" "I saved your life." Her laugh cracked like glass. "A Mafia boss saving a cop. That's rich. Call it a bad habit," he murmured. For a long moment, neither moved. Rain whispered through the holes in the roof. A pigeon flapped somewhere in the rafters. Finally, she lowered the gun, just a little. "You should have left me there." "I almost did." Their eyes met. Something flickered between them. Not softness, but recognition. Two exhausted souls who had spent years pretending they were made of stone. Elena tried to sit up, biting down a groan. Adrian stepped forward to help, but she raised a hand. "Don't touch me." He stopped, expression unreadable. She looked around, taking in the faded altar, the cracked pews, the damp floor. "Where are we?" "Old church outside the industrial line. Nobody comes here. So you're hiding me. Looks like it. Why?" He walked to the doorway, staring out at the gray horizon. "Because someone wanted you dead." "And maybe me too," she frowned. "Your people?" "Not mine. Someone else moved in. Salazar's crew." Elena blinked. The name hit like static. "That's impossible." "Salazar's dead. That's what I thought." He glanced back at her. "You had his name on a paper in your hand." "Care to tell me why?" Her mind scrambled through blurred memories, the ambush, flashing lights, gunfire. She remembered chasing a lead that connected the Romano family to a new smuggling route. But the men who attacked her, their tattoos weren't Romano marks. They were something older. "I was following a lead," she whispered. "Evidence that ties your organization to—" "My organization doesn't exist anymore," he cut in. "At least not under me. So you're saying you're innocent?" "I'm saying someone's playing both sides." She wanted to argue, but the pounding in her ribs silenced her. He turned away again, hands in his pockets, as if the conversation had already exhausted him. "You should rest," he said. "We move tonight. We? You can't walk 3 steps without collapsing, detective. And I can't step outside without every camera in the city tracking me. For now, we stay ghosts." Elena sank back against the cold stone, weapon still in her lap. The weight of it felt useless now. She watched him pace through the light streaming from the stained glass, each color cutting across his face like a confession. There was something off about him. The monster she'd built in her reports wasn't here. This man looked tired, not dangerous, not kind either, just done. After a while, she broke the silence. "You really think Salazar's alive?" "I think whoever shot you wanted to make sure you never found out." He crouched beside a small duffel bag, pulling out a tin of coffee and a small burner. Within minutes, the smell of bitter heat filled the air. The sight of it, a criminal calmly brewing coffee in a broken church, made her chest twist with something she didn't recognize. When he offered her a cup, she hesitated before taking it. The warmth steadied her shaking hands. "You always bring a kitchen when you flee the city?" she asked. He gave the faintest smile. "Force of habit." She took a sip. It tasted burnt and human. Hours passed. The storm faded into drizzle, then quiet. They spoke little. She watched him patch a bullet hole in his sleeve, his movements efficient, unhurried. She noticed the scars along his forearm, thin, deliberate lines. Not battle wounds, ritual ones. She wondered what they meant. At one point, she dozed off. When she woke again, the church was darker, filled with the scent of rain and candle wax. Adrian sat near the altar, head bowed, fingers turning something small in his hand. A pendant, old and worn. "Is that yours?" she asked softly. He looked up, startled. "Was my brother's." She remembered the reports. Marco Romano, younger sibling, killed during a police sting 6 years ago. Official story said Adrian ordered the hit when Marco turned informant. She'd believed it. Everyone had. "He died because of me," Adrian said quietly, as if reading her thoughts. "But not the way they told you." The air thickened. Elena's heartbeat quickened, not out of fear, but from the way his words carried regret like gravity. "I'm sorry," she said before she could stop herself. He gave a faint, humorless laugh. "You're the first cop to ever say that to me." A noise cut through the stillness, an engine in the distance. They both froze. Headlights briefly flashed through the broken window, sweeping across the pews. Adrian moved instantly, dousing the small flame of the burner and pulling her behind the altar. Through the cracks in the wall, They watched a black SUV slow down outside, just as one had the night before. Two men stepped out, umbrellas up, scanning the surroundings. Elena's pulse hammered. "They found us." Adrian's jaw clenched. "Not mine. Salazar's." He slipped a silenced pistol from his coat, motioning for her to stay put. She reached for her own gun, ignoring the pain. When one of the men stepped through the doorway, Adrian caught him in a single motion, a muffled shot, a body collapsing onto wet stone. The second man fired back blindly before Adrian tackled him, slamming him against a pillar. The struggle ended fast, brutal, silent. When it was over, rain poured again, washing the blood toward the aisle. Elena stared, breath shallow. He'd moved like a ghost, efficient, lethal, precise. She remembered why half the city feared his name. He dragged the bodies outside, covered them with debris, and returned without a word. She expected triumph or threat. Instead, he looked older. "They'll send more," he said. "By morning, this place will be a graveyard." Elena swallowed hard. "Then what's the plan?" "We go south. There's an old rail line under the docks. From there, maybe we find whoever started this." She hesitated. "You're risking your life for someone who'd arrest you the second we're safe." He looked at her, eyes unreadable. "Maybe I'm tired of being what they say I am." He walked toward the exit, rain slanting through the doorway like liquid glass. She watched him for a long time before whispering, barely audible, "Maybe I am too." He didn't turn around. But she saw his shoulders stiffen, a quiet acknowledgement between enemies who were no longer sure what side they stood on. The rain had stopped. Morning sunlight broke through the clouds, painting the broken city in pale gold. But the calm was false. It hung like a fragile veil over something that would shatter at any second. Adrian and Eleanor moved cautiously through the abandoned rail tunnels beneath the docks. Water pooled at their feet, reflecting the dim fluorescent lights overhead. Every echo, every drip sounded like footsteps. Every shadow looked like an enemy. "Salazar's men will be everywhere," Adrian murmured, checking his gun. His voice was calm, but his eyes betrayed a storm within. "We move fast, we move silent, or we die." Elena flinched at the edge of the tunnel, wincing at the pain in her side. "You don't know how many," she said, her voice shaky, "or what they've already done." He shot her a glance, not angry, not impatient, just quiet acknowledgement. "I've been hunted my whole life. I know what it feels like to run knowing someone wants you dead." They moved through the tunnel like ghosts, Adrian leading, Eleanor leaning on him when the pain became too sharp. She noticed details she hadn't before, the way he paused at corners, how his hand never left the gun, the faint scar along his cheek catching the light. Each movement was calculated, effortless, born from years of instinct. By the time they reached the old rail car at the far end, the air was thick with anticipation. Adrian pried open the door. Inside was darkness, but the faint smell of oil and rust made it feel alive. A hiding place, a temporary sanctuary. They both settled inside, Elena pressing herself against the metal wall. Adrian sat across from her, cleaning his gun with slow, meticulous motions. Silence fell, but it was tense, the kind that comes before a storm. She broke it. "Why are you doing this? Risking yourself for me?" He didn't answer immediately. His hands paused, then resumed the motion of cleaning the weapon. "I've killed enough," he said finally. "Maybe I'm just tired of dying inside. Maybe I'm just tired of leaving bodies in my wake. You remind me there's something left worth saving." Her breath caught. She wanted to argue, to remind him of the law, the oath, the things that defined her life. But something in the way he spoke, calm, unwavering, made her hesitate. "Then what happens when Salazar finds us?" she asked. He didn't flinch. "Then we fight." One last time, night fell again, darker and heavier than before. They could hear the distant rumble of engines above, the chatter of voices. Salazar's men had tracked them this far. It was only a matter of time. Adrian checked the first barricade he'd set. Elena noticed the tension in his posture, the same tension that had accompanied him every time someone had tried to take his life. And she realized something. This man, this mafia boss she'd hunted and hated, had never been alone in his life. The people who betrayed him, the friends who died by his hand. He had carried it all silently. Until now, a sound of shuffling above made them both freeze. Adrian signaled for silence. They waited. The footsteps grew louder, deliberate. A single light cut across the wall. "They're inside," Elena whispered. Adrian's gun was in his hand before she could react. Shadows moved through the doorway. Two men stepped forward, guns raised. One had a familiar scar along his jaw. Salazar's lieutenant. The firefight began silently, bullets punching through metal and concrete. Adrian moved with impossible precision, eliminating threats one by one. Elena ducked behind a crate, returning fire when she could, her mind racing. She was alive. Barely, because he had saved her, and now he was risking everything to keep her alive again. Suddenly, the lieutenant took aim at Elena. Before she could react, Adrian lunged. The shot rang out. Adrian caught the bullet meant for her. Pain exploded across his chest. He stumbled, and for a moment time seemed to stop. Elena screamed, rushing to him, but he pushed her back. "Go! Take the files!" "Go!" Tears blurred her vision as he slumped against the wall. His hand reached out, brushing hers for just a second. A final connection between hunter and hunted. Between life and death. Through the chaos, Elena grabbed the evidence they had risked everything to secure. Documents that would clear her name. Expose the corruption and reveal Salazar's return. She ran through the tunnels, carrying the weight of his sacrifice and the proof that justice could still exist, even in the darkness of the city. Behind her, the sounds of the firefight faded into silence. When she dared to look back, Adrian was gone. Only the faintest outline of his silhouette lingered against the dim light. His body a silent testament to the life he chose to give away. Days later, the news reported a small gang clash, but Adrian Romano was nowhere to be found. Officially, he was dead. Unofficially, only a few knew the truth. Elena stood before a quiet cemetery, her hands resting on a small child's shoulders, a boy with eyes as dark as Adrian's. Hair as unruly as the man she had once watched die. She knelt, placing a hand gently on a weathered headstone. Adrian Romano, a sinner who saved the innocent. Her voice trembled. "He broke the law to save my life." The boy tugged at her sleeve, looking up with innocent curiosity. "Mom, did he really die?" She smiled faintly, brushing hair from his forehead. "He did, but he also saved more than just me. He saved all of us from what could have been." A soft breeze rustled through the grass, carrying the scent of rain, of earth, of something that felt like forgiveness. In the distance, a black car sat quietly along the road, engine off, headlights dim. A figure inside watched, shadowed, unreadable. A cigarette glowed briefly in the dark. Adrian Romano had vanished from the world everyone thought he controlled, but his choices left ripples that could not be erased. A man who had lived in shadows had finally stepped into light, through sacrifice, through redemption, and through the quiet act of saving a life that could have ended his own. And in that act, the world had changed forever.